This is NEDS AFL Unpopular Opinions with Alastair Lynch, Tom Rocklif and Dylan Leach.
Welcome to the show that's more consistent than the interpretation of the holding the ball rule and far more entertaining than the Saints Gold Coast clash on Saturday night. Round 14 is upon us, and while 6 teams have the bye and there's no footy on Thursday night, there's still plenty to get stuck into, including some bloke who wears the number 4 for Richmond, celebrating a particular milestone, which of course we will talk about on this program today. Plenty to talk about, plenty to say, plenty to do. Let's get on with it. This is NEDS AFL Unpopular Opinions. My name is Dylan Leach. 59 goals for the Murray Bushrangers in 2008, a leading TAC Cup goal scorer that year, I believe. Big free slider, 79, and the push-up king himself, Tom Rocklif.
Can you believe going undrafted?
You went in undrafted?
Best and fairest in a premiership team, kicking those goals, third in the league medal, undrafted.
I also, flat
that night.
You were a bit
It was a
tubby.
bit flat that night.
What did they say? What was the feedback?
Because I was a forward, they didn't think I'd be able to do it at AFL level.
Well,
How long do you have to wait?
you got pre-season.
Pre-season.
Yeah.
So was that 3 or 4 months?
Yeah, it was a couple of months back in the day.
Oh,
I think
stressful.
I flew up for one day, 3K time trial, and then flew on.
Yeah, right.
Did you pack your bags and go straight out?
Off the plane, Craig Lambert picked me up, and I was like, I don't think I want to stay.
But you ended up having a decent career yourself. So
Not too bad.
You did all right. You did all right.
Absolutely.
Named in the forward pocket in the Tassie team of the century and described as a top-flight key player when right in his Coca-Cola AFL 95 Classics footy card, the one and only Alastair Lynch.
When right, so when not asleep.
Yeah, basically. That was a 1990.
Origin.
That was a 1995 footy card description there.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
So-
was 95 was I played one game, slept for the rest of the year.
Who squeezed you out of full forward? Richard?
A bloke called Peter Hudson.
Peter Hudson.
Kicked 150 goals.
Did all
there was
right.
no chance at centre-half forward either because that was Royce Hart.
Yeah.
Pretty not a bad forward line in the Tassie team of the century.
Be a bit daunting.
And I think full-back, where I sort of like to think of myself as a full-back, Verdon Howe, Brownlow medalist for Melbourne.
Pretty good.
Yeah, so I was lucky.
See, defenders do get votes.
Oh, yeah, no, good point. That was back in the 60s.
When there was one
so I
umpire
was happy to
doing
get
the
there.
votes.
Happy to get there.
Now, you'll notice there's a bit of outfits going on here today
There
on the
is.
program. A big shout out to listener at WinterVintage90 on Instagram. Now, this bloke here has come across a heap of dead stock. So this is T-shirts that were never sold back in the 90s. So this is like 25, 30-year-old gear. And there are some absolute rippers. And Lynchy here, he's rocking a 1996 Brisbane Bears Killer Koala type T-shirt.
That's a nasty koala.
You
Wouldn't
did-
want to mess with him.
No. That gum tree won't know what hit it there. And Tom's rocking. He, of course, built the foundations of this club.
Yep.
He's a Port Adelaide legend.
Is this not a barley one?
No, it's not a barley one. That was actually made when Port joined the league, and there was confusion as to their establishment date, because we're just having a look here. It's described as Adelaide Port Power, not Port Adelaide Power.
Oh,
and look
that's-
at
That's a
the
barley.
and look at the establishment date.
No.
Oh, don't go telling Koshy that. 1996.
1870.
No
It says
wonder that-
1996.
No wonder that didn't hit the shelf.
They wouldn't have been
No
happy
wonder
with
it
that.
was dead stock.
Adelaide Port.
It's a bit like once they genuinely released an Adelaide Crows hat that had a VFL logo on as retro merch, and that didn't go down well with a lot of South Australians. But look, that is one of the great mascots.
That's a ripper, that one.
And you've got the Tiggies on there?
Yeah, this is a 1996 centenary Richmond shirt that they released at the time, celebrating 100 years of Australian football.
Yes.
Richmond finished 9th that year. We did. Matthew Richardson kicked 94 goals.
That was peak
Didn't
Richard.
even win the Coleman.
Yeah.
Still remember the day when he did his knee at the SCG.
Oh, horrible. I still want a royal commission into that boundary line. What
way
happened
too
there?
close.
Way
Yeah,
too
yeah.
close.
He wasn't the same,
Disgusting.
but he was still a freak when he came back.
Wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Like, was it the last year or was it your second last year?
Second
Did
last
well?
year in the midfield.
Brownlow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He used to just take hangers every week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was incredible. He didn't quite have that when he came back from it, but he could still do different things that people couldn't.
He was one of the more entertaining players to
absolutely.
watch for the upside and the
Yeah,
downside at
It
times
was-
as well. It was just great. to watch.
Richo was Richmond.
Yeah,
he was everything
he was.
Richmond was. And we'll be talking about another Tiger favourite on this show today.
There's a surprise.
Yeah, I know. I didn't see that coming, did
Nah,
you?
no.
Did not see that coming.
I actually thought the whole show would be
No?
to him, so I'm surprised that we got past.
Well, I'm staggered. You haven't got him on.
An interview with Dustin?
Yeah, you're a you host all the Queensland Richmond stuff.
Yeah.
I'm hearing Dusty was all for it until that game when he was up here at Brisbane. He noticed someone left at three-quarter time.
Yeah, that's it.
Dragged the arse out of the duffel coat.
And then we lost him.
Legitimately, there is a Dustin Martin in Queensland that is a branch manager at the Cooperoo Bank of Queensland branch.
You're a stalker.
So we could probably get
You are a
him.
fair dinkum
We
stalker.
could get that Dustin Martin, but we probably can't get the Dustin
I
Martin.
don't think anyone can get him.
No one can get. We'll touch on that later. Boys, outlandish, outrageous statements from the weekend gone by. A late record this week, Tuesday afternoon record. We should digress. Tom's actually got to head off a bit early, so
I'll duck
Tom,
off early.
We'll get into your views straight away.
Well, yeah, I don't know who it's at. Unpopular opinion. I don't know whether it's the AFL. Let's go with the AFL. Their interpretation change of holding the ball is just so far off the mark for me, and it's created more confusion. I understand what they were trying to do, but the ones that are paid and not paid now, it's so inconsistent in games, out of games. It's from quarter to quarter, it swaps. Elliot Yeo gets done for holding the ball, which was a disgrace. That should never have been paid. Prior opportunities gone completely out of the game. Dropping the ball's gone. So if you have an arm pin now, there's no way to get rid of it. So the only option is to drop the ball.
So you've got one arm free.
You've got one arm free.
You're told you've got to drop the ball, don't you?
You drop the ball.
You have to drop the ball to throw your foot at it.
They're encouraging you to drop the ball and try and throw a leg, which I think is more dangerous because if you get off balance and then the tackle can contribute to you hitting your head, it's just all out of whack and it's confusing, and they should have waited till the end of the year, done a full review of it and gone, well, this is how we want to officiate it. They send videos weekly to the clubs, and the ones that miss out are the fans because it's not authentic anymore. And Luke Beveridge's comments on Friday night, I think it was, that we'll have players that won't want to win the footy. I actually tend to agree with that. Like Elliot Yeo makes a perfect tackle defensively on the weekend, sees the ball, doesn't drag it in, picks the ball up, gets to his knees to get rid of it, and gets done for holding the ball. Like in the future, he's not going to pick that up. So we're going to have players come through and not try and win the footy, which then our fabric of the game's changed. So the lawmakers fix it. I don't know how.
Well, they'll soften the interpretation. They have to. Because it's gone to the extreme over the last couple of weeks. And the Elliot Yeo one's not something we want to see. It's not something that the game's about. It'll have to be softened. But no, I reckon you're right on.
And you can almost guarantee that they will change the interpretation this weekend. It'll go from one extreme to another, and that's what happens every week.
Well, I think it's sort of gone to the extreme over the last couple of weeks. It'll soften a little bit now. It's got to go back. Hopefully it settles somewhere in between.
Do we find whenever they do these sort of mid-season rule changes or rule interpretations, adjustments, for lack of a better word, that there is always those teething problems where they overcompensate for something and then undercompensate for the other. So we are stuck in situations like Elliot Yeo, like we saw on Saturday, where you could argue all three games were decided by crappy umpiring decisions. And
if Gold Coast miss finals, they'll be ropeable. And then we've seen it last year. I know the Crows,
With
but
the Crows,
playing that free kick 150 off the ball when McAndrew was looking at the play.
Yeah.
King's running back at him, not looking at it, and then they try and manoeuvre. It's just a disgraceful free kick.
Yeah, it is. At least they came out and said that
they
was
got it
wrong.
wrong.
And I don't mind the interpretation changes, and everyone's sort of talking about we shouldn't have mid-season interpretation changes. The reality is we have for everyone a day.
Yeah.
We just work it out over the first couple of games over the weekend. At least the AFL came out and said we're making this change.
Yeah.
And I think they should keep clarifying. We got the Mac Andrews one wrong. I'm not sure what they've ruled on the Elliot Yeo one.
I think they said the Elliot Yeo
I think they
one
ticked
was
it off.
kosher.
I mean, they've got to come out and be transparent. It is a tough job. I think tell us if there's going to be an interpretation change, and as they have, say when they made a mistake.
The other one is the Sicily one. So that's confusing in itself because it's paid down the field, it goes out on the full, and it gets paid to Bruce in the pocket. If that goes through for a point, it goes back to Sicily, I think, is my understanding, because it's gone through a point. It's got to go back to where Sicily was.
The Tom Green hit, I thought, that's borderline. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's gone out the full. I was the same. I thought that's going back outside 50.
Yeah.
So that's an odd one.
Well,
they say that was right.
Yeah, well, it happened a couple of years ago. Remember Carlton Freo over in Perth?
Yeah,
I reckon.
that's right. Yeah, in the COVID
they paid
year.
it. They paid it downfield. But my understanding was if the play became not live, it went back to where the free kick happened.
Yes.
But that's obviously changed over time. But my understanding is if it went through for a point, it would have to go back to Sicily outside. So we're saying that a matter of 2 metres either going through the points or on the full dictates where the ball goes.
That had to be a mistake.
Well, I think it's right.
Yeah, I think they've clarified it's right. But I thought most players were thinking, no, it goes back.
I would have been arguing on the ground that it had to be outside 50 because that was my understanding of it.
Well, that's right. You would.
Yeah,
So
I'm as confused as anyone about what's going on here.
And again, we're not not for 1 second having to go at the umpires at all.
They're just following orders.
Yeah, and it's such a grey game.
Yeah.
And with the constant changing,
It's also they're
extremely
also
hard.
enforcing one of the most greyest rules of them all, which is intent and holding the ball. It should be simple, but they've made it so grey.
because you've got laws of the game that's 19.123 section C-2.
Yeah,
That's
like
the
they can give local councils a run for little weird bylaws.
Imagine trying to read the laws of the game.
Well, you're in the commentary box every week. How many times are you sitting there watching the game with 3 other experienced football people and you have difference of opinion because it's so hard?
Yeah.
And I think there was criticism a number of years ago around rugby union and infractions in the scrum and that sort of stuff, not knowing what happened. How many times do we see in a ruck contest in AFL, the whistle goes, both ruckmen go, is this mine? They've got no idea. So I think if you've got so-called us experts who've played the game, so we're watching it, we should know what's going on.
That's you two, not me, I should stress.
You're always red and black. Red and black. Yellow
Red and black.
But yeah, I think we should have a better handle on the game.
Yeah.
But it changes so much.
Yep. No, tend to agree.
Yeah.
Lynchy.
Unpopular opinion. The Sydney Swans are the best sporting club in the country.
Sporting club.
Best sporting club in the country. They have established themselves over the last 30 or 40 years in Sydney. They've remained relevant in a tough rugby league market. They've got one of the most iconic grounds in the world with a capacity of 44,000. They've been over 40,000 the last 3 games. They've got this elite talent coming through. And I would say now it's hard. You go to one of the big Dreamtime at the G, Anzac Day at the MCG, all incredible. But if you want a bankable night out, SCG full night game against another contender, they're just packing them out. It's huge there. The atmosphere is great.
I must say it looked sensational on Sunday.
Absolutely incredible. And just the atmosphere around the place. They've got some issues now because they're locking gates because the SCG members can't get in.
I did enjoy that in your boundary riding on the weekend when you were doing it. Felt very old-fashioned for you saying, if you're stuck in the pub, please make your way to gate F.
F, that was it. Yeah.
Please make your way to gate F. It used to be like when you used to watch the cricket back in the day and the local market would only get a session, and then Bill Laurie or Richie Banner would be like, make sure you get on down the MCG for the second session. Yeah. Come on, get it. It was great.
Because that's in the old days, Rocky, you wouldn't know this, but live in the live market, it was only the last 2 hours were shown.
Yeah, I think it was either
cricket.
the first session or the last session in the local market used to get shown for the cricket.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I just think Sydney Swans, and certainly over the last 20 years, Paul Roos, Richard Collis, John Longmire,
my mate Andrew Pridham.
What they've done there to attract and retain talent both on and off the field, the way they've run their academy, the way they fill their stadium is first class.
I think that's a fair point because the NRL is obviously looking at expansion to even out the teams. And they were talking about how the North Sydney Bears would be a Perth-based team, and they basically want to model it on the Sydney Swans. So a team with the old history. So obviously you've got your South Melbourne history into a new market. And they said, I'm pretty sure I read the quote, we want to be the Sydney Swans of the NRL.
I think so many sporting clubs can do a lot worse than actually going and learning a lot from the Sydney Swans.
And also, the Sydney Swans did make a lot of mistakes. They haven't been perfect. Like, they had a couple of triple bypasses to survive in Sydney in the early days. So they
categorically they did, but then they had to find a way in the draft with salary caps to retain talent and importantly grow your own talent. Which is what they've done to the stage where I think people want to rip away their academy. But Errol Goulden and Isaac Heaney, amongst others,
and the big thing of that as well is Buddy going there, like to pull that off and get the eyeballs on it in Sydney.
Well,
massive. Like, they didn't get the flag.
Yeah.
They've had
Kappa.
big star.
Kappa,
Yeah.
Barry Hall, and
Yeah.
we were thinking post Buddy. And if you think post Buddy, even the last 2 years, Buddy went off, his absolute best. How would they be? Would they be relevant in this market? Geez, they're flying.
Absolutely.
I mean, Isaac Heaney, Gould and Warner as just pin-up boys. I mean, it's incredible what they're doing.
They do claim that they've got the most supporters in the competition, and they probably do because a lot of Sydney people would support them. They won't have the most members, but they probably have the most supporters.
It's kind of like people in Melbourne who say they go for the Storm and they don't really follow it week in, week out, but they say, I hope the Swans do well. And I'm pretty sure the 2005 grand final is still the highest rating grand final of all time.
Yeah.
Just obviously the Swans won it.
are in
And
great club, great venue.
They just ease up on the best of the three grand finals and they're all good.
You'll fire up a few Pie supporters, I reckon, with that.
Yeah.
Which is good.
That's why we're here. It's unpopular
That's
opinions.
right. I thought it would go down like a lead balloon, but
No, I like it.
they're an impressive.
well, I tell you what,
outfit,
if you're a Collingwood supporter, Carlton supporter, make the trip. If you're going to have
SCG is a great day out.
trip, get to the SCG.
And
Make sure
that
you book a
helps them
ticket.
as well. The fact that they're playing at the SCG at such a central location, that makes it even more.
Their members will be lining up like they do at the cricket and bolt to get their seats.
Well, they will be, and
You'll be
I know
making
the SCG members, the ticket holders are getting their tickets halved to actually get the capacity.
Yeah, right.
And gates locked and they can't get in. So
Brilliant.
there's some disgruntled SCG members.
That sounds like a good problem to have.
Great problem to have.
Because, if you look at any Swans game from the early days, it was buy one, get five free kind of situation. Now, mine is, I think it's a popular opinion amongst the constituents, but not amongst colleagues in the media. To the media, Dustin Martin interview. This week is not about you. It is about Dustin. And I'm telling you what, most Richmond fans and most footy fans do not care if he's going to do an interview or not. And to even make that a story this week is pathetic. People don't want to hear that Dusty's not going to do an interview. I've heard Dustin get interviewed. He's a bit shy and he's just going to go, full credit to the boys and we've had a great time. You're not going to get an open mic type interview from Dustin Martin. That's not his style. But what we have seen this week is just a wonderful amount of club content, but also fan content on socials, people sharing their Dusty clips, their Dusty memories, their Dusty tributes. Sometimes these players don't need to be in the media spotlight off the field to get value for money and what they're paying. Because Matthew Lloyd said on 3AW, Dustin Martin owes it to the Richmond members who have paid his salary for 15 years. Dustin Martin won us 3 premierships, Matthew, and 3 Norm Smith medals. Dustin Martin owes Richmond nothing. He has done everything for Richmond. And Saturday will be such a wonderful celebration of one of the greatest players the game has ever seen, the greatest finals player this game has ever seen. I don't think that is up for debate.
I don't think so. It's hard to match.
Yeah, no.
But
your favourite Richmond player of all time? Which is, I know, for you passionate Richmond fans, the 70s.
I think for me,
an iconic
I'm
era.
still Team Richo. Because
Richo won. Yep.
Yeah, just because I rode the wave with Richo, grew up like Richo was like my favourite player from grade prep to year 12.
Yeah.
Like he was Richmond. And he is Richmond. He's as much of a Richmond nuffy as I am. In fact, I'm in group text messages involving Richo about Richmond. So that's how much of it. That's how much.
If you're trying to delete that, I'm trying to get out.
No, Richo leads this kind of stuff. Richo is as much of a Richmond nuffy as the nuffiest nuffy. Dustin, I am forever in his debt for what he's done for Richmond.
I reckon it'll change in 10 years. I reckon Dusty will go to 1 for you.
Maybe. And maybe history will look differently. But, I'm adamant that when Dusty retires, his statue goes next to Jack Dyer at Punt Road, and there's not even, is he worthy of it? He is worthy of it.
That's fair.
And sometimes you look for... there's obviously a whole bunch of people involved in the regeneration of Richmond and where Richmond is, but... the kind of messiah complex is there. Dusty would be considered like the ultimate on-field messiah who led Richmond out of the doldrums. His 2017 is as perfect a individual season anyone can have. I'm a bit tired of some journos trying to make this week about themselves and
But wouldn't
talking
you
about
love that? Wouldn't you love a sit down, whether it was so comfortable? So if he sits down
With Richo.
if he
with
sits down
Richo or Jack,
that would
or
be
Rewalt,
great, but it's not going to bother me or any of the Richmond fans if he doesn't do it at all. No one's going to look at Saturday's game and think, what a wonderful celebration. I just wish he did that interview on Channel 7 or he didn't interview
I think we'd
for
all.
Fox.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
I've interviewed Dusty a couple of times.
What,
just
post-game?
No, just on grand final parade or something like
Okay.
that. So you're not chatting for a long time. But I'd love to see him relaxed, and maybe that he's post-career, relaxed and give us a bit of an insight who he is.
Look, I wouldn't be surprised if, say, your colleagues at Fox have sort of got a bit of a agreement that should Richmond win, Dusty goes speak to Jack after the game. And that gets put on the PA system and Dusty goes, thank you for all coming.
If he's doing it, even if they lose, I'd reckon.
I reckon they'd probably still arrange for something.
Yeah, because he'll get chaired off.
He'll get chaired off. He'll get a guard of honour and everything.
Is he 300 and out?
I don't think so. He's been playing pretty good football to not... I mean, he was sick last week, and I'm glad he's recovered from being sick last week.
You didn't need him. You were resting players to take on the Crows.
Yeah, that's right.
Sad.
No.
Jeez, there were some Crows supporters flat as...
They were flat.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Triple M over there.
Yeah.
I listen to 5AA on the way home just to get the call back.
Is that Rowie?
Yeah.
Rowie.
He just lit the flame and it was away.
Yeah, I'll have to get the podcast for that. But yes, there's something about Richmond wearing that yellow jumper against the Crows that can really do some psychological damage to that club. No, I just to go back to the point about Dusty doing an interview, yes, it would be fine. I just don't think he's in the... I think maybe post-career you might get a better insight when he's got a bit of perspective and can open up a bit. Like, for example, if you look at an interview with Gary Ablett Sr. back in the day, he was boring as batshit. When he had his own video. There was one video I used to watch a lot, Ablett one special season, which was about his 93 year, and he's just talking to Sandy Roberts wearing a hat like you, actually, the whole time.
Yeah,
and he's like,
head too, so
he's like, I just kicked 6 goals. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, he was my favourite player as a kid. Yep, and the boys did well.
But we were
even Tony Lockett was, but these are two people that were notoriously reluctant to do media. Tony Lockett didn't like media. He was just like, that's just the way you go about it. It's like, are we really missing out on him saying that?
I think Dusty will do exactly what they've done and just never hear from him again. But I'm with Lynchy. I think we need to hear from our marquee players. Not necessarily this week, but if you're going to take the $1 million, and Buddy's a bit in the same boat, they need to do media for me, because that's what brings the money into the game. That's what brings the revenue in, is the media. That's where the money is made because of the TV rights, etc. I think they need to do somewhat, particularly when they're marquee
But
players.
when you're a player like a Dusty or a Buddy, the content you're giving the media is the magic you put on the field. You've got highlights to play for.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think...
But we grab every other player by the ear and say, you're going to talk to us. And we can walk up to anyone post-game now.
I appreciate that. What I'm saying is to make it a story this week in the lead up to his 300th game, to basically turn this is chat you should have in a production meeting. This is a chat that you have in a production meeting. This is not a chat that you have on the Monday night footy shows. This is like, I wish Dusty will do an interview. We
do. We wish he'd do an interview because we'd love to chat to him.
But the fans don't care. The fans genuinely don't care. They are just happy to...
No, Dusty.
I don't think it'd be necessarily Richmond fans that would want to hear it. I think it'd be footy fans that want to hear it.
Absolutely.
I would love
a football
to
celebration.
Yeah.
I think no doubt the Hawthorn fans will give him a round of applause, and it's a genuine celebration.
It's more so,
superstar.
I would say footy fans would want it more so than Richmond fans. Richmond know what that he's done and what he's given them, but for footy fans that don't necessarily follow Richmond as tight, they know Dusty's story to a degree. It'd be great insight for me.
There is a Dusty documentary that Richmond has produced that goes up on the website, the Tigers website. We're recording this Tuesday afternoon, but Wednesday night. So that's got obviously Koch, Jack, Ralph Carr and Dimmer, I know, speak in it.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll get a lot of insights from the people who know him closely. And maybe one day he might release a book, or
Doubtful.
Well, someone will write it for him. A bit like Lynchy's book, Take Nothing for Granted by Dustin Martin.
I wonder if Dusty will lose his dog and be able to take it to the vets.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That was a low point. Hey, I got my dog back. Got my dog back.
Maybe one day I'll turn up to Lifeline Book Fest and Dusty will be signing copies of his autobiography.
Dusty will go, leave the dog. I haven't got a book.
Well, Dusty, Dusty left his car at the MCG for 2 months, so let alone
He did.
I don't
Went
want
to
to.
Vegas, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't want to know what he's going to do with his dog. But anyway, look, yeah. So,
All right.
congratulations to Dusty.
Oh,
Thank you for
absolutely.
everything. You are an absolute
Well done.
superstar. Tom, you got don't argued by him in your career
Did
a
I?
couple of times. Yeah.
Have you got footage? I don't think I did. I think I got him.
I think that's some pictures.
I got him.
You
I
got
got
him.
him holding
You
the
got him,
ball
did you?
at Adelaide Oval and got a 100-metre penalty. I got him holding the ball,
Yeah.
got him to job me in the mouth, and then ran at Josh Caddy and got the extra 50.
Was that you?
was
yeah,
me.
it was.
There you
I
go.
There
forgot.
you go. I got him.
You got him. You did.
I got him.
And then you got Dimmer saying those lovely things about Josh.
That's right. He tried to don't argue and I chopped it.
I
and
totally forgot that Dusty was in that. I was more thinking about Josh Caddy.
There you go. You
I was
can
more
put
thinking
that
about the
clip up
actions
this
of
way.
Josh
You're
Caddy.
getting more and more famous every week.
I know.
You built the foundations of Port Adelaide. You got Dustin Martin.
Seen his don't argue coming from a mile away and chopped it. So there you go. That's the clip this week. Just put that on.
Are you from the same town as Dusty?
No, he's Bendigo. I was Benalla. He's a Joel Selwood.
You're from the same
Oh,
draft
yeah.
year?
Yeah.
No, year after.
Year after.
Yeah.
Did you play against
He
him
was a
in
year
TAC
after,
Cup?
sorry. I
He was
probably
Bendigo-
would have. I probably
were you
would
Bendigo
have.
Pioneers?
I was Murray.
Murray Bush Rangers.
Pioneers,
Yeah, Pioneers. Yeah. Castlemaine boy.
Yeah.
Dusty. Yes, very good. All right. Let's have a snap. Now, Tom, you're going to join
I'm going
Ryan
to
for
shoot
the-
off after the snapshot.
after the snapshot because you've got to get somewhere.
Yes, well, because the record times get thrown around. Lynchy's an important businessman.
Oh, yeah.
On the golf show, actually, that's why we have
Yeah,
to delay.
exactly. Lynchy
Golf
has
show
it.
this morning.
Tune into that.
Oh,
Can't wait for that.
It is a, shocking
we'll
shock.
say thank you to you now.
Thank
you
you.
go join Ryan for the snapshot, and Lynchy and I will be back after that.
All the betting trends you need to know from the world of footy. This is the Snapshot.
Tommy, that part of the week again, mate, where we get stuck into some numbers, get stuck into some betting. We won't talk about the multi just yet because we've gone very, very close. We'll get into that a little bit later. Shortened round this week, only 6 games to pick from with a handful of teams on the bye. We're just going to preview 2 games that I've picked out. Friday night, your old club, the Brisbane Lions, take on St Kilda up at the Gabba. Enormous game for 2 sides that are quickly running out of chances to make the top 8. How'd you see the Lions last week in that win over the Dogs?
Yeah, much better. Just look more complete across the board. And the Western Bulldogs, they're a bit the same. You flip a coin and you're not sure what you're going to get from both of them. So the Lions, I thought, looked like they were back to their best and take on St Kilda, who are as boring team in the competition to watch. And Ross Lyon's always coached like that, and he gets the best out of his players and defensively, but I think they'll get split open at the Gabba. I think the Lions will run amok.
You stole the words out of my mouth. St Kilda have won back-to-back games against West Coast and the Suns, both in pretty low-scoring fashion, less than convincing to say the least. I think the glass still looks half empty still. But it was nice to see the Lions back amongst the goals last week. The Hippo kicking a 6-goal bag. Nobody saw that one coming. Look, we know the Saints can't score big. It's just not really in their makeup. They're a defensive-minded team. 3rd fewest goals allowed in the league, though. Can the punters get around the likes of Danaher to kick another bag, or is this a potential danger game for Brisbane?
I don't think so. I think Brisbane know where they want to get to. Their troops are slowly getting back. I think they're primed themselves. They limped into the bye realistically off a couple of bad losses, and then I think they rebounded really well. And I think they'll be primed for Friday night footy. I think they'll blow St Kilda away. I think just the way the ground plays, their forwards are starting to look a bit more damaging as well in that front half. As you said, Hipwood probably played his best game of his career, which he needed to do off a pretty quiet year, to be quite frank. St Kilda, I don't think we'll be able to match them at the Gabba. It's a really hard ground to defend. You win the centre square bounce, you deep forward straight away, and then Harris Andrews in the defence press it in and lock the footy in the front half. So St Kilda won't be able to get their way through that press, I don't think. And I think the Lions will, I think when you started to talk about St Kilda and not giving up scores, I think it'll still go overs, but Brisbane will do the bulk of the lifting in that game.
Sounds like we're both in agreement there. A couple of trends worth noting. Brisbane are 2-4 at the line as the home favourite against St Kilda. Last 4 meetings have all gone under the total, so the trends suggest it could be a low-scoring one, but we'll see. Let's fast forward to Sunday. Another one of your old clubs, Port Adelaide, the club that you set the foundations for. Only top 8 fixture on the slate slate this week, both coming off a loss. GWS, controversial loss last week to my Hawks. I know you feel very strongly about the Sicily free kick, but we won't get into that. And Porter coming off a bye after being dismantled basically by Carlton a fortnight ago. Scoring in this one will be very fascinating. The Giants have found kicking goals quite difficult over the last month in a real sort of dry patch. 7 of their last 13 games between these two have gone under the total. Sounds like Rosie could be back in the side for Port. Under, over, and do you think Port are good value? I think they're around $2.45 head to head right now.
Yeah, I think Port Adelaide are good value. We know that the Giants finished their season last year in that final, but the Giants are just too inconsistent, and within games too inconsistent up and down, where Port Adelaide, yes, they got beaten against the Blues, but you look at that form now and it stacks up for Carlton. I think Sydney are probably ranked 1, Carlton are almost ranked 2. So to say that they went down, and convincingly they did, they got blown away in that last quarter, but the first 3 quarters was highly competitive in that contest. So I think Port, they're victims of themselves, the way they play. They get themselves up, they continue to finish top 4 and just can't quite get it done at the end of the season. But I think they beat the Giants, so I think the value for them is really good. I would tend to go unders as well on the history of these two teams that you talk about. But Port Adelaide's biggest issue is their inability to score. They dominate the inside 50s. The ball lives in their front half, but they just don't get banged for their buck. So I would lean towards, probably the unders and Port Adelaide.
Port are a very inaccurate team in front of goal, especially this season.
Ryan and Rocky are cooking up another multi. Surely it gets up this week.
Speaking of inaccuracies, though, our multi last week, geez, we've gone bloody close again, mate. 3 out of 4 legs. You laughed at me when I took North to cover against West Coast, plus 20.5. Came good. And then I took the Swan.
Well done.
Yeah,
well done.
Yep. Let me hear it. And then I took the Swans to cover against the Cats. That was a bit touch and go until that final turn, but we got that home. You went back to the well as usual. The Bont, 2+ goals. Easy
and
money.
I think you will find that I actually said in the podcast that I'm not sure if he'll get tagged, but if they do, they'll send Berry to him, which
happened. Nostradamus,
so,
Rocklif.
If you want the inside scoop, just come to this show.
Well, that's why we do this whole segment. And then, look, I'll let you explain the rest.
Well, Elliot Yeo, slid into his DMs on, was that Saturday afternoon, Saturday night? Nah, West Coast, he never looked likely, did he, 25? And then all of a sudden he had this burst in the last quarter, a bit like West Coast. I thought he'd play like that and they'd be up and about and beat North Melbourne. But once he got going, they got back into the game. And I think he finished on 23. We had him 25 plus. So
brutal beat.
I mean, if he had got that handball out when he gave away that shocking free kick from the umpire, so we've finished, 2 disposals off a $12 or $13 multi. So I think we bounce back this week.
Hopefully, mate. Well, look, I'm going to take some of your advice on board here. I'm taking Brisbane to cover against St Kilda on Friday night, minus 27.5 at the line. Really like that. And I've also gone Port Adelaide to cover against GWS. So I'm in agreement with everything you said. Earlier on, you are going player markets again?
Yeah, I'll stick to the players. You go to the team. So I'll stay with the same game. Port Adelaide take on the Giants. I think Dan Houston, 25 plus. He's had another really good season across half back. I think the Giants will get enough inside 50s. Houston uses the ball so well. So they look for him to get the footy in his hands. And Will Hoskin-Elliott to kick 2 plus in that game against North Melbourne. I think he'll bob up. They've sort of got a makeshift forward line at certain times. And he's always good for 1 or 2, I think.
Fingers crossed. So to recap, we've got Brisbane to cover against St Kilda, Hoskin-Elliott 2 plus for the Pies. We've got Port Adelaide to cover against GWS, and in that same game, Dan Houston 25 plus disposals, $17.09 for this one, which is better than I thought we'd get.
Yeah, I think the players, they were both about 230, so they. A bit of juice there for us.
Boosted it. That multi will be available in the special section under AFL on the NEDS app. Good chat as always, Rocky.
You're wrong.
You're listening to NEDS AFL Unpopular Opinions.
This is NEDS AFL Unpopular Opinions. Rocky's gone. Ryan's gone. It's just you and me now, Lynchy.
More of the Richmond hour, is it?
Yeah, just more of the Dustin Martin tribute. Don't you wish you got to play with Dustin Martin? No, anyway, no.
Bloody oath. He would have been a handy in our side, that's for sure.
Could you imagine if he played on your team? Gee whiz.
He is an absolute superstar.
Indeed. All right. Now, it's a bit of an interesting weekend now, Lynchy, because Thursday night footy is done for the year.
Which is staggering.
It is, isn't it?
We'll get one in finals.
Yeah, you get one for the finals, but for the rest of the year, there is no more Thursday night footy.
It almost, I reckon Thursday night in so many ways is great. Makes your weekend feel longer.
Yeah, it does.
Like you get to Thursday night footy, you just got to stagger through work Friday, and you're away.
Pre-Thursday night footy, I guess it used to be the footy show. That was the sort of weekend tester into the footy, sort of taste test into the footy. On a Thursday night, you'd watch the footy show, but now you can actually watch a game of footy.
And the footy show was about announcing the teams as well, because you didn't have the social media, so there's no live
you would have
teams.
had to watch it to find out if, or maybe not if you're in Brisbane, if you were up at 3 a.m. for the AFL repeat. But
We used to watch the rugby league one.
That's not bad, the rugby league one. But there is no footy this Thursday night.
Yeah, no, that's something that'll be corrected next year, without a doubt.
One thing I reckon about this year's fixture, because they were talking about sort of unfairness with the buys. You know, obviously the Swans have had 2 buys before. I think the Western Bulldogs and Geelong had a buy, and it's a bit all over the shop. And then there's weeks when there's no games in Sydney or no games in Brisbane. I reckon this year is they got way too carried away with the marketing of the fixture and not the overall logistics of it. So
late.
They
came
came out late. I say, okay, so we're going to do this opening round, and then X team and Y team want this marquee game at this particular slot, and then they've kind of forgot to factor in that, hang on a minute, we now need to get all these teams having breaks and certain
it's a reasonable oversight.
And
the 2 buys before another team has a buy.
Yeah, ridiculous. And it's also... I think I mentioned this on the show a couple of weeks ago, if we're going to have Thursday night footy, it doesn't necessarily have to be a blockbuster every week. Like, I think people are just like Friday night, because Friday night's got that stature and it's been around for 40 odd years now. That's fine. Put a big game there, but a Thursday night at this time of the year doesn't necessarily need to be the biggest game of the week. Like, you could put Port versus GWS on a Thursday night, hypothetically, and we'd still watch it.
And
footy.
rotate it around the stadia outside of Victoria. I mean, Victorian games are good as well, but around school holidays, that sort of stuff, make a big event.
Just have it on for something to watch, really.
Oh, it is. It's great.
If there's no Thursday night footy, I figured we'd do a gig guide.
Yeah,
because we're all looking for things to do.
So with this Friday night, this Thursday night, there's no
gig,
footy.
There's no footy. So
what's on?
What's on?
Well, I'll go.
You go first. What else is on?
Well, what's on?
Yeah.
Grand Designs, South Herefordshire.
Oh, fantastic.
9 p.m. on the ABC.
Oh, can't wait for that.
It's not bad.
Not bad show. You watch Grand Designs?
Yeah, my word.
Yeah, well, that's what you're doing this Thursday night instead of the footy?
Yeah, after I'll watch 360 a couple of times and some replays.
Yeah, good.
I'll flick it over.
Well, I think, maybe it's a good night for a date night. So in Melbourne, Wicked is currently on at the Regent Theatre. It's one of the all-time classics, of course, the prequel to the Wizard of Oz musical, a absolute Broadway classic. So tickets are $79 to $230. What, could have dinner and a show this Thursday night.
Well, that sounds all right.
Yeah, but you ever seen Wicked?
Yes, I have.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I actually did.
Yeah. Oh.
Extremely good.
There you go.
I'm not a theatre goer as such.
No.
But, geez, they're talented.
Fun. And what else? What else?
What'd you say then? You dropped the magic, did you?
No.
Oh, I thought you did.
I didn't know.
Right. So if we're sticking with the theme of my first watch, Britain's Got Talent auditions, back-to-back episodes from 8:30.
Yeah.
On Channel 7.
So the AFL network, rather than showing something footy, are just showing some Britain's Got Talent back-to-back episodes.
Well, yeah, you've stitched me up here. I'll record this because I'm still watching Fox Footy on 504 on Foxtel.
Yeah, that's good.
And then I'll watch that later.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And
so I'm watching 360 again.
Now, we've also got the Melbourne Rising Festival. That's a huge city-wide event featuring dozens of art exhibitions, live gigs, performances and more. Check out a fun, free party in a secret laneway. Get rowdy with a massive choir in an iconic cathedral, or check out a 24-hour rock show. Or on the Melbourne CBD. You don't need to watch footy. This is awesome.
You're right.
Plenty of good stuff.
And once another option after I watch AFL 360 on 504 on Foxtel, I'll go to How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Now, it's 8:30, Nickelodeon Channel 13.
Fantastic. Great film. Kate Hudson.
Go through your Foxtel as well.
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, the 2003 classic starring Kate Hudson.
You ever seen that film?
No.
Oh, you'd love it. See,
I reckon
there's so many good options this Thursday night.
I reckon I will.
And also, like, if you're into your sport, you got the swimming trials.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely watch that.
See Ariane Titmus the other night, just nearly broke a couple of records there.
Yeah,
so
she's
Looking well
a
placed.
fellow St Pat's student
Tassie?
from Launceston.
Yeah,
from
good
me.
Tassie girl.
Yeah, went to the same school as Ariana.
And
about 50 years after her.
Yeah, it's the same alumni, great sporting school. And last but not least, Lynchy, surely you'll be watching this.
Yeah, Sharkies.
Yeah, your beloved Sharkies.
Yeah.
Rugby league's still on.
Yeah, well, it's 7:30. Channel 9
Yep.
is an option,
No.
but you go Fox League.
We get it in 4K.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic.
And you get the gold commentary from the Fox Sports guys.
Yeah.
Top 4 clash.
Yeah.
Second place Sharkies.
Yeah.
So they've really lifted since I jumped on the bandwagon last year.
I know you're a big Sharkies fan.
Oh, well, I think what ET's doing out in that wing.
Yeah,
Is he
it's
on the
good.
wing or the fullback? I don't know where he is.
I think he's doing well with Paul Gallen.
Paul Gowan's going well.
a big man.
And they've come
Yep.
off a confidence building win over the Bronx last week.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Well, certainly.
So that
I
was
actually flicked over to that because the Suns St Kilda game was absolute trash. So I ended up watching that one. And then after the league, you can sit back for a few laughs and watch rugby league's equivalent of Bounce with Matty Johns.
Now that is a good show.
That is a good show.
That is a very good show.
So-
Fletch, Hindy.
Yeah, I never Gordy.
And Gordy.
Yeah,
I must admit, I've had a couple of refreshments with them.
have you?
That's entertaining.
That would be entertaining.
Yes, we've spent a few hours together. The AFL Grand Final.
They're at the AFL Grand Final.
They were at the AFL Grand Final, so that was back when it was AFL Grand Final on the Saturday.
Yeah.
On the Sunday was the NRL Grand Final.
Oh, so you doubled up.
So no, I didn't double
Oh.
up. They doubled up. Now Hindy, he'd had 4,000 when I left him. Late.
Very good.
And then when I've rolled out of bed mid-morning, I've flicked on Fox to have a look at the pre-game stuff, and he was there hosting.
Brilliant.
A masterful display. One of the greats. I don't know how he backed up. He must have gone all the way through.
That's outstanding. Outstanding effort.
So there's
All
plenty
right.
on TV.
So look, yeah, don't need
you
to worry
actually
about
don't
footy.
know.
Heaps of options. Seriously, bring back Thursday night footy. What are you going to watch? You going to watch Grand Designs or
No, you reckon nothing.
nothing?
I'll watch 360 then
You're a company man.
Yeah.
Just Fox footy on a constant loop.
do some research.
Yeah, good stuff. Time to wrap up now. Time to wrap up here on NEDS AFL Unpopular Opinions. Rocklif's already headed off. Ryan's headed off. It's just you and me holding fort, Lynchy. It is a late delivery this week, we should stress, and people do have prior commitments, but we saw it through.
We absolutely did. No, it was good chat. Most of it was about Dusty, but anyway.
Well, yeah, because we're the only footy show this week that's going to be
that's
talking
right.
nothing but Dustin Martin.
Exactly.
What are you looking forward to? I mean, there's only just the 6 games this weekend. Of course, Carlton, Essendon, Geelong, Gold Coast, Melbourne and West Coast all have the bye.
Well, I think it's fair to say we'll kick off Friday night. And I think why a lot of people have been frustrated with the Brisbane Lions is we saw what they did last week and how good they can be.
Hipwood kicking 6.
Well, Eric Hipwood, and he does, I think Fague said it in his press conference afterwards, he can cop some criticism. But if he plays with the energy he played on the weekend, I mean, you're not going to kick 6 every week. That's a given. But the way he threw himself at the contest and competed was outstanding, and he really led the way, for which was a great victory. And I mean, they're sitting down in 13th spot the next handful of weeks.
They've got some winnable games.
Absolutely, they have. But in saying that, when we reflected on the last 3 or 4 weeks, they had some winnable games. But then you drop something against Hawthorn. Hawthorn obviously skyrocketing up the ladder. But the frustration for Brisbane was franked last weekend with their dominant display. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they go against St Kilda.
Now, are St Kilda going up to Brisbane wanting to play defensive Ross Lyon, chippy crap, defensive press and just stop the Lions' attack? Are we in for a boring Friday night?
You know what I reckon Ross Lyon and the Saints want to do? They want to develop a game plan and execute it so they win. They couldn't give us stuff.
No, they couldn't.
So they just want to win the game.
Yep.
And I think where they've struggled this year, they've got to get back to controlling the speed of the game. Their game is not a shootout game at the moment.
No,
they just haven't got the elite
that
talent.
it is not.
Well, they haven't got the elite talent to win a shootout. And you're not going to come and play against Brisbane in a shootout and win.
Not at the Gabba.
So, that's a big challenge for them. So, but I'm looking forward to it. And I will be, no doubt, tuned into your game of the week, Richmond Hawthorn.
That will be great. it goes without saying Richmond Hawthorn is something to look forward to. A really intriguing game is the one before it, is Western Bulldogs Fremantle at Marvel. I have no idea who to tip in that one. Who do you back? Can you trust the Bulldogs?
We can't trust either.
You can't trust either of them, can you? That's like one of the more, like, there isn't a lot to choose from this weekend, but that is definitely one of the more intriguing matchups.
Yeah, it is. I'm going the Bulldogs. It's early in the week. Expect they might get a player or two back from injury, but you got to back them at home. Yeah, you couldn't go against
Fremantle
them.
in Melbourne, you still can't really trust. I mean, that's been a thing since they were established for the last 30 years. So, yeah, but no, that should be a really interesting clash. And of course, the Dustin Martin testimonial match on Saturday. Richmond will win.
Did you like Jack's promo on
Outstanding.
Fox?
Very
good.
It went straight from the Matt Nable Academy of walking and talking on camera there. And
did very well.
Looked outstanding. Nice backstretch shots there. The cameraman Stu did that. He does a bit of stuff. Yeah, Stu, he does a bit of stuff for us here at NEDS.
He's a superstar.
He's one of the great shooters. All right, now let's recap the multi before we go. So this is what Rocky and Ryan have picked. They backed the Lions at the line, 27.5 on Friday night.
Yep.
Will Hoskin Elliott, 2+ goals in the North versus Pies game.
He had a good game.
Congratulations to North as well for finally getting a win.
Yeah, that was good to see.
It was very good to see. And a same game multi in the Port Giants game, or the Giants Port game, because it's in Sydney. So Port at the line, 9.5, and Dan Houston, 25+ disposals. Altogether, $17.09 if you don't mind. So that's available in the AFL section of the NEDS app, and of course the NEDS AFL Open Group. All right, time to wrap up here on AFL Unpopular Opinions. We're done for another week. Alastair Lynch, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dylan.
Looking resplendent in that Bears t-shirt. A big shout out to our mate at Winter Vintage for sending these beauties. Do look him up on Instagram at Winter Vintage, and genuinely good prices as well. They're actually a bit cheaper than some of the AFL merch that's actually available at the clubs right now. So you can pick yourself an absolute vintage. Oh no, you can't, but I can. Lynchy doesn't endorse, I endorse.
Well, and it's pretty hard to look him up on Instagram if you haven't got Instagram.
That's true. Lynchy doesn't have social media. Oh. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks for listening to NED's AFL Unpopular Opinions. Enjoyed the podcasts? Remember to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.